Warriors fans, let's rank every trade rumor being connected with the Warriors right now. We're gonna go from Giannis to Jerome. Let's put the top 1 to 16, and you're gonna help me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I do have obviously my opinion in mind about each one of those players. Ken Johnson, Jordan Clarkson, Steven Adams. But I don't know how this is gonna play out. I'm doing this live with you. So let's rank, and I'm gonna show you. So what I'm taking consideration for this ranking, right? Obviously, their age, their size, how many points they can bring to the game, but also the salary, how much it's gonna cost the Warriors, or potentially will cost the Warriors to bring them. So you've seen this table. I'm gonna leave in the description as well, and I can share a link with you if you want to follow the analysis. Obviously, I print that and I have my own copy here because I want to look into this while we go. But it's important to keep all of that in mind. It's also looking to the needs that we have going to the next season, right? So let's rank. Let's start. Let's rank the top 16 trade rumors the Warriors have right now, and where they should go. So let's start with Ken Johnson, right? Looking at, as you can see here, Ken Johnson is making 20 million for next season, 20.5 million. And he's obviously addressed one thing for the Warriors. He brings point volume, right? He brings that shooting. He's playing obviously as a small forward. He could do a little bit of the power forward as well, but he has been linked with the Warriors before and could bring that reliable third scorer that we have been hoping and looking for, right? Because we know we do have like on and off Buddy Hield and Brandon Porzingis. So it's an interesting name, right? We got to be careful here. And I'm going to allow myself to put that in some numbers, but then adjust later if needed, right? So 20 million, I think it's something that it's sort of what the Warriors would expect to need to pay Jonathan Kuminga for him to stay. The Nets have cap space, so I think they could absorb some stuff as well. And I think they would be willing to do that, but it would cost the Warriors something. So I'm going to start with Ken Johnson. Looking to some of the other names, I'm going to put him in here at number 5. I think he was a good position for him. I already have my top 1 in mind, and you're going to see in a bit. But I think he's a good one for that spot, right? And then we go for Michael Porter Jr., another name which he has practiced in the last summer with Stephen Curry, and that's where the trade rumor started. Again, he's being linked, obviously, the Denver Nuggets, considering all the results of this playoff and what Jokic said, they are expected to make trades. And Porter is another one, right? He brings 18.2, a little bit less points. Well, they're almost the same, but same average points that Ken Johnson, but there's a problem there. And then one thing that I forgot to mention, I like to look how many games these players and all these numbers that I showed you, they are connected with last season, right? So that's important as well. And Porter Jr., for example, he did 77 games, which is you show that is a very reliable and available player there. Now, the key point for me, which is a struggle, and would like for this kind of players, for me, it's a pain point. It's looking that he making almost 40 million. Right, so to bring Porter Jr., you likely are having to sacrifice, for example, Draymond Green. And then I think, and it's like, is that the kind of like trade that we would put us in a much better spot? You bring a reliable point, but then you lose on your defense player. So I think that downgrades the trade opportunity for the Warriors. So I'm gonna put Ken Johnson here at the number. I would say probably is gonna land something about number 9. Let's see how it goes there. We might change. Daniel Gafford. That's a name that I really like, and I'm gonna do actually a video in a few days about him and why the Warriors should explore this opportunity. Right? The Dallas Mavericks have size, right? They have reliable centers on that spot, and I think like the thing with Daniel Gafford, he's one of the youngest players in this list. So it's someone that would be with 26 years old. Definitely address the sizing that we have been discussing and needing so much. So it's one of my favorite names here, and he's doing only 14 million. So obviously The Warriors would have to throw something compelling for the Dallas Mavericks to land Daniel Gafford, which, in my opinion, looking to the Dallas roster right now, it would be something like Brandon Porzingis, because they are needing a point guard and they have shooting, like they have Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, they have Lively, they have other players there. Now they're probably landing the rookie. So I think because they got the number one, right? So I do think they have shooting. They need someone that is a playmaker, and that's definitely Brandon Porzingis. I think that's what would cost the worst. But it's definitely one of the names that I think he can bring the points, he can bring the size, he can be that center that we have been discussing. So I'm putting him here. In my opinion, he is in the top of the list, and I'm gonna bring him to my number 3. That's the guy that is not the only one. And plus, we would need to throw something, but it still would allow us to keep assets to make other trades, right? So I was, honestly with you, I was between spot number 2 or 3 for him. And I still not 100% sure, but let's keep on number 3. Then we go to Coby White. Coby White also 25 years old, 26 years old, the youngest one in this list. Chicago Bulls, probably they would be willing to do this trade, and he's also another 14 million, around 12 million actually is his salary, as you can see in the table. So, and he brings that 20 points per game. He addressed that part for the Warriors, but he brings one problem for me, which drops drastically in my list, is that he doesn't solve our main issue, which is size. He's a 6.3. So we still keep with that same issue. He would be someone else to play, but I don't see, for example, you have that backcourt playing him, Stephen Curry, and Jim Butler. It would be a very low size, low height backcourt. So I don't like much that trade, and for me, that drops in a lot. Plus, when I look into this list, and we're going to check in a second, I think there are other players in the same position that would cost us even less and wouldn't require us sending assets to any other team at this point. So for me, I would drop Coby White for something like, I'm gonna tell you, my bottom list, my bottom 16 is very ranked. There are many names in this list that I'm not a fan, and I'm gonna put Coby White around my number 12. I think the size for me is one of the key elements that I want to address in this ranking, right? So then we go to Derrick White. Recent rumors, the Boston Celtics is also another team that they are full in their cap space. Jason Tatum is probably out for the entire season, and they need to shake things, right? They got overwhelmed in this playoff as well, and they have a very expensive roster. Derrick White is a 30-year-old. He is definitely brings that point. The experience has been as a champion as well. 16 points per game. But I don't know. I've in 76 games, right? So that's another thing. He's a reliable player, but he would cost us like something to bring as well, and that's the other point. Like how you make that fit with Draymond Green, with Jim Butler and Stephen Curry, right? So I think it's also a risk on how you make that fit, because I'm assuming for all this ranking here, all the trades, that the Warriors won't explode the first April, right? So I'm keeping that. So anything like to bring these high level players, it will cost us a little bit. So, and he's also another very tall guy, right? This also doesn't address that point. So I would put him here probably my number 13. I think it's an expensive guy to bring, and again, it's not gonna solve us a lot of things as well. I think we still would need more trades to address, and he might take us assets to bring as well. Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson, it's a kind of player that in the league that he doesn't get a lot of spotlight, but when he get hot, he really can bring some points. He's a 32 years old already, and he's a 14 million deal for next season. He's in the Utah that historically is very hard to trade with. He's not, again, going to address any sizing, and he would be a similar situation than Coby White, right? He's definitely has more experience, but I don't know. It's for me, it's also very unreliable. I don't think it's the kind of trade that really like excites me a lot. So I'm gonna put him here in my number 14. I'm already seeing here that I'm gonna have to do some trades some change in this ranking, I guess. But because as I said, like for me, my bottom 16 out of these trades here is very swamped. The Anthony Melton, a fan favorite for the Warriors. Obviously, he's very linked with the beginning of our amazing season. Like we obviously had a 13 first 10 games or 14 games where the Warriors were really shining, and Melton injury was very part of that. So he's a free agent. I think it's easy for the Warriors to bring him if he wants, right? We gotta remind that the Warriors trade him as soon as he was injured, and we don't know how much the player takes that personally. But I think he's someone that we could bring in that mid-level exception, veteran deal, and he is a reliable player, a very two-way player, which I think I would like to see in the Warriors as well. So I'm putting him as, but he doesn't address the sizing. So I'm putting him as my number 8. And because one thing with Melton, we got to keep in mind, he keeps having this history of injuries, right? So that's another point. Brook Lopez, and I did a recent video in the channel. You can check that, talking about Brook Lopez. I think he's a very low-hanging fruit. He is a reliable perimeter shooter from 3. He brings a little bit of size. He's not the taller center that we have here, but he's a free agent. So it's a matter of convincing him that he can add to the roster, having depending on how much salary he wants. But I think we can make a deal there and convince him landing in the Bay Area, and he would address some of that size. He's a guy that despite being the oldest one in this league with 37 years old, he's the one that made more games last year. He made 80 games, so just looking at the regular season. So very reliable. He's a center, address some of our needs as well. So I think for me, he is my number 6 here. And I like that. And I do think we need to bring a center, right? So then Nikola Vucevic. Vucevic obviously was very linked, and the Warriors almost pulled that trigger. Like he was that guy that can bring 20 points per game. He's a better even 3-point shooter than Brook Lopez. He's in the Chicago Bulls that definitely would be willing to do that trade. The Warriors have the assets that is needed, but he does right now. I want to confirm here, 21 million, right? So he would cost the Warriors more to bring and take a spot on that roster in our cap space. But I think he's very reliable. He makes almost twice the amount of rebounds that Brook Lopez does, for example. So I really like that option. And I think for me, he would be my number 4 here. The reason that I prefer Gafford in terms because Gafford has the player last game and deliver last points because he was playing last minutes as well. But I like the fact that he's younger, right? So you could lend him a very similar kind of contract, and he would last, I guess, longer and has more already to start improving, right? Then Ty Jerome. When I said about Jordan Clarkson and Coby White, I said Ty Jerome for me is the best guard that we have in the league. In the top ranking here, the 16 options available. And I like Ty Jerome because he has flair for the Warriors. He knows everyone there. He knows the facility. He knows Steve Kerr. He didn't have the opportunity, and I think it was actually the Warriors had to let him walk because of the space and the cap space and all the things. But he had a breakout year right now with the Cavaliers. He's a free agent, so he was doing like 2-point-something million. So I do think the Warriors can lend him and solve some of that playmaking come from the bench and a little bit more score with him, and a guy that it's younger as well. So 27 years old. So I do like, and I think it wouldn't cost the Warriors much. So for me, he's my number 7 here. And I think he addressed some of our needs, like for creating more shooting, more playmakes, also without counting only on Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler. And he has playoff experience right now. I do like. I think it's a low cost for the Warriors to bring. And then obviously, I think for everyone, I don't know if any of you disagree with my number 1 here. Please let me know in the comments. Giannis, right? Does Giannis take a lot, and he's gonna be a high cost for the Warriors to bring? Yes. We probably would have to, and let me already say up front, I wouldn't trade Jim Butler for Giannis. You improve. I think you improve. Do you solve all the issues? No. If any of them, Stephen Curry or Giannis, get injured, you're already in the same spot that you were last year, or this last season that just ended. So I do think we need to keep Jim Butler. So that means that to bring Giannis, we would very likely either exploding that apron, and I'm not considering that kind of scenario for this ranking. So it means that Draymond Green would have to go. It's a high cost. He's the biggest salary that we have here in this ranking, but I would still would pull it because also remind like he's very willing to leave the Bucks right now. If you let any other team in the West Conference right now, that thing explodes in quality and it just get more difficult than it's already is the West Coast, the West Conference, right? So I do think Giannis is my number one. If he's leaving the Bucks, the Warriors, and he's coming to the West Conference, the Warriors needs to be the team landing him. And then Kristaps Porzingis, honestly, he I was undecided if he was the bottom of my list. And I do know he brings points. He brings size. He's a good shooter. He's a champion with the Boston Celtics as well. But for me, he's one of the most unreliable available players that we have in this list. He keeps having this since the Knicks, right? He keeps get injured and injured and injured. He just have something that the doctors in the Boston Celtics couldn't even figure out what it is. So for me, I wouldn't count that. And I think he did like 42 games last season. Plus, he's a 26.5 million. The Celtics would ask something in return and would cost the Warriors a lot of assets, right? So for me, I'm going to put him as my 15 here. Then, Horford, right? So he's going to be a free agent. Let me confirm. I think he's going to be a free agent. He's a reliable center. He doesn't add a lot of more size for us, right? Keep in mind that Al Horford, for example, has the same height that Kevin Looney and Tracy Jackson. But he obviously has more experience. He's one of the oldest in this league as well. He brings more points, more experience, but also I don't think he adds much. But he's a center that is what we need. So I'm gonna add him here to my number 11. Then Steven Adams. Adams that had an amazing playoff series against the Warriors. And I think that obviously creates a memory in the Warriors fans, and everyone was asking for the Warriors to trade for him. He's a more reliable defender, I guess, than both Vucevic and Lopez. But I don't think, like, again, he had injury problems. He's not going to add a lot of points. We have the free throw problem as well. So I think the only actually point and plus is, I think, is Adams is one that is hard to fit in the style that the Warriors play. So I don't see him as solving a lot of our issues other than having a body there as a center position. So I'm putting him as my number 10. And right now Adams is doing, just to recap here, he's going to be a free agent. So yeah, it's a low-hanging fruit, but between the center position free agent and Brook Lopez and Adams, I prefer Lopez. That is, despite being older, he plays more, plays a lot of minutes, and is a shooter as well, right? And then Lauri Markkanen. I think there's one guy that lost value in the league in this last season was Markkanen, right? So keep in mind the Warriors were willing to trade and check with Stephen Curry, Draymond Green. It was something that almost happened. It's just that probably would cost the Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Porzingis a lot in the last offseason, and it didn't happen. But then what happened that the Utah Jazz, for me, made a big mistake is that now they're playing. Lauri Markkanen makes almost the same amount than Kevin Durant, right? He makes 40, 47, 48 million, 49 million. So 46 million. So his salary exploded. Again, how are we going to bring Markkanen? He adds a little bit of size. He's a power forward or a shooting guard, like a small forward. He doesn't solve our problems, and he's a very expensive one, which means sending a lot of assets, and then you create a gap in the roster, or even having to trade Draymond Green. So with the salary that he has, and considering there's many more years, I think for me, he's my bottom one, right? He solves some of the problems, but he creates a lot of other ones. And then easy, my number 2, Kevin Durant. I think like he's older than Giannis. He doesn't take that spot, but he knows Steve Kerr He knows Stephen Curry. He knows how to play with the Warriors. I think would be a very quick fit. And he brings that point. He's still one of the best in the leagues. And I do feel he still has gas in the tank to play. But again, it's a very expensive one. How you make that fit without sending Draymond Green? I don't think changing Kevin Durant for Draymond Green is a trade that the Warriors will ever make, even out of respect for Draymond Green. So it would be a matter of pulling that off, sacrifice a lot of your first picks, and then how you fit that in your salary cap space. So for me, Kevin Durant jumps to my number 2 here. I want to know your thoughts. Let me know if you agree with me. Remember, this is the table analysis. I'm going to make that available for you. I consider all of this, the Warriors' needs and age, everything that impacts those 16 players here. And I want to know your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Do you think the Warriors have to go for any other trade that are not these ones? And how would you rank your top 16? Leave in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and have a great day.